Okay, so hello internet, and welcome in the second video of my series about Anycubic Kobra S1. In this part I will replace the hotbed with a new one that Anycubic sold me for $50. It is a complete set, so basically what we have to do is disconnect and remove the entire old heat bed and connect and assemble the new one. But before that, if you watched my first video, I told you that I have three problems. First was with the pressure sensor of the 3D printer. Second, the heat bed that I nearly destroyed trying to level it. And the third problem is an error that I'm getting on different points during the prints, especially large prints. I'm able to finish some small prints, but if I start a large print, in this case a box that I'm trying to build, on different occasions, I mean in different points during the print, I get these 104.14 or 104.13 error, and just the print stops and the printer asks me to reboot it manually. So I'm not able to finish any large prints. The last time when I was recording the first part of this series, when I turned on the printer, it asks me to update the firmware, so I did that, and I wanted to try a new print to see if that error is gone because of a software issue. Obviously Anycubic, based on the walks that I sent them, told me that there is a problem with the motherboard, and I'm expecting to receive a new motherboard maybe this week or the next one, and I will replace the motherboard, but in the third video eventually. But I wanted to give it a try after the firmware update, and we can see that I had this error again. So basically I started the print around 7 PM yesterday, and around 1:30 AM it threw that error and the printer stopped. So that's like 6 hours and a half print. And now I will turn off the printer, and when I turn it on, it will propose me to continue the print. I tried that multiple times, but it's just not working well, so I'm not able to finish that print. So I will just stop the print. So let me hit the nozzle. Or maybe it's better to just extrude some material. So you can see the warping here. The first layer is not that bad, and yeah, we have some problems here on the back. but generally not that bad. However, I noticed that the results with my new pressure sensor are a little bit worse than the first day I printed with my old sensor with the pressure, with the washers that I put. So what I will do is I will replace the hotbed, I will level it, and then I can do another test, and if the test is still bad, I will put washers again and see if that makes any difference with the new sensor. Let's replace that heat bed. So first we have to detach everything that's attached to the back of the printer. So to remove these, actually let me try to retract the filament by hand. Nope. Okay, so first we need to retract the filament that's already in. Okay, so before we continue with the disassembly, let me show you a design flaw that I think this printer has. So here on the front we have two axes that are holding the printer, the heat bed, the build plate, and here on the back we have just one. And this means that this is the only point that holds the entire heat bed on the back side. This means that if I try to push it on either side, you can see the wobbling that I have. And so basically what I think, and right now I have a support bracket underneath that I will show you later, and I will give you a link to the model so you can print it. But even with that bracket I have a wobble on the back. Without the bracket it's much worse. So what I think happened, and I think that it happens with time when you're using the printer, the plastic housing that fits the radiator and the pressure sensor degrades with time, and basically the pressure sensor needs to pressure the heat bed harder in order to get proper readings. And when that happens, basically here on the back side, when the pressure hits the build plate harder, it sinks a little bit, and that gives a false reading to the pressure sensor. And that is why on the front right side the filament barely touched the build plate, and on the rear left side the nozzle was grinding on the build plate. So in my opinion, this printer should have two axes on the back. Okay, let's see if now we can retract that filament. Yeah. Okay, so now let's turn everything off and detach everything that's connected to the back of the printer, starting with power cord. So here, to remove that tube, you have to press down the ring on top and pull the tube out. If you try to pull it without pressing the ring, you probably won't be able to. Okay, so now let us remove that splitter or something that connects the filament from Ace Pro. Okay. Okay, that's done. Okay, so now we can turn the entire printer, and what we have to do is we have to remove all that screws in order to remove the back cover of the printer. So basically all these screws are the same except these two and these two, because they are going into plastic and they are different, so make sure you're using the correct screws. So now this should come off easy. Okay, and this is the cable for the heat bed. So we have to first remove that zip tie to free the cable. And just unroute it, and then we have to remove this plastic part. No. Okay, so with these cables, right, it might be necessary to, oh no, oh fuck. Okay, let's first remove this. So obviously the heat element is using AC current, so you have two black wires here for that, and because it is AC current, the polarity doesn't matter, so these two cables are not, doesn't matter which one goes where, but you have to be careful with that yellow wire because that's the grounding wire and it has to be attached exactly down here, and you have to have it connected, otherwise you might get electrocuted if something goes wrong. Okay, now the fan connector, and it looks like it's going up here, so we should remove also that bracket. Not fun, guys. Let me check inside. Oh, no power. Not that I can see much, but maybe I will be able to remove that connector without removing that. Oh, here we go. So I hope I will be able to connect it without removing that thing here. Okay, so it's this way down. Okay, now we have to free the cable from that zip tie here. And maybe, yeah, it came out. Okay, so now we have to rotate the printer again and or we might be able to do that from here. So we have to remove 2 screws here, 2 here, and 2 on the back. So okay. Okay, so now I should be able to just lift that up and take it out. Oh, can you see the wobbling on the back? That's what I mean. That's just not good. Oh, and I even think that they lower their expenses by not putting a bearing on the top, which is kind of disappointing. Let's get the cables out first and we'll take a look there. Okay, so as you can see, I did horrible things to that build plate, but here on the back, this is the bracket that I told you about. So basically, while I was searching a first layer test, I have found a model for a guy from a guy who had the same observations as mine, and he saw that wobbling on the back, and he designed this bracket. So I will put a link to this model in the description of the video, so you can get it and print it for you. And basically in the model description you will see a description of what is needed in order to have that bracket fitted. But basically you need, I think, M4, a little bit longer bolts on the back side, and 2 nuts, and basically 2 screws here, so it's not much. And I will put that bracket back to the new build plate because I think it's necessary in order to have a proper first layer printing. So let me first get these bolts out on the back. Okay, so here is the bracket, and let me get that heat bed out. According to the guy who designed the bracket, these 2 screws should go into the plastic here and here, but I think if you just have the screws in and make them touch the plastic instead of drill it, that will be enough. Okay, so now let's get the new hotbed out. But let me first examine that thing here. So, as you can see, this thing is wobbling here on the top, and I think it is missing a bearing. So down here you can see that it have a bearing, but no bearing up here. And I see there is a screw here that is holding the bearing, and there is 2 holes up here for such screws, but no bearing. That's funny. I'm wondering if that's just my printer or they saved money by missing this bearing. Okay, so first let's, oh, it's nice. Compared to my previous. Okay, so I will put that down, and now we have to route the cables through the hole here, and then the grounding wire, then the 2 black wires. Come on, okay. So the question now is, will this heat sensor connector, will I be able to connect it without removing that plug here? Okay, so that should go here, probably. No, just here. And now, oh, my zip ties are too big, but well, that's what I have, so maybe a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, now the grounding wire should go here, the two black wires here, and here. And now that stupid collector, that's all the way up there, and it should go like that. So let me give it a try, and if I cannot get there, I will remove that plank. No, okay, let's not be lazy and remove that thing. Okay, now I should be able, okay. Alright, so that should go up here, and this cable is for the heat bed temperature sensor. Okay, so now let's half assemble it and go on the front side. So now let's connect, let's screw the heat bed here. Oh, look, that's also wobbling, and I guess this one will, yeah, that's also wobbling, and I think that they are missing the same thing on the top, the bearing. So if you ask me, they tried to cut off expenses by removing necessary parts like bearings and adding just one axis on the back instead of two, and that's not nice, because when you save from such things, and they are not that expensive, how much you're going to save by not putting 3 bearings, a door. Two, maybe 3, 5, how much? Yeah. By the way, that's one of the reasons why the Chinese goods have bad reputation, basically, because you get something that is not that bad actually, and you cut the costs by using cheap materials or just not putting necessary parts like bearings. And the result is a product that your customers start to repair right after they buy it, and of course, why not selling them the parts, yeah. Life is too short to bother with such things, so basically I will do these repairs that I'm doing right now for the motherboard, the heat bed, and the pressure sensor, and if that piece of crap continues to break, I will just throw it away and buy a, I don't know, bamboo up maybe, who knows, we'll see. I'll do my homework this time and research better. Okay, so we should be okay on the back side, so I will close the lid. So now I will turn the printer on, make sure the hotbed is heating, the z-axis is moving, and everything looks okay. And after that I will connect everything back and do a first layer test. What I'm gonna do is I will do the heat bed resetting. No, let's first assemble everything and we can proceed with the tests. Okay, 1000 screws more to go. So I showed the first video to my wife yesterday and she said, at least now I know what you're doing all day. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Okay, now let's reconnect that thing. Power cable in, turn it on, turn the Ace Pro on, and my poop collector here, the top lid. Oh, I will use PLA, so I won't put the top connector, but first we have to reset the heat bed, and the way Anycubic suggests to do that is to just untighten these four screws on the hotbed, just not all the way, but like little bit. And now you heat the hotbed to 80 degrees and let it sit like that for about 10 minutes. And then just tighten back the heat bed screws. See you in 10 minutes. Okay, so 10 minutes have passed, and now I will tighten these screws just a little bit by cross tightening them, and then I will go and I will tighten them a little bit more. Then I will start the full calibration of the printer, and I will print the first layer test to see if there is any difference with the new heat bed. So let me put a build plate. And do a full calibration. Okay, so see you when the first layer test is printed. Okay, so the first layer test is printed. Let's see the results with the new hotbed. And if you can see, it is pretty much the same as with the old hotbed. So what I can see here are two things. First is that probably my intuition was right, and the hotbed itself does not matter much, because if you don't have bumps on the magnetic layer, when you put the build plate on top of it, all the holes and things just doesn't matter. So that's one thing. And the second thing that I see here is that on these back edges, where I told you that the heat bed is wobbling, now without the bracket, because that print was done without this bracket, we have issues exactly on these places, while with the previous tests we had the issues on the front side, but it was almost perfect on the back side, and that was with both the old and the new sensor. So let me get that out. So as you can see, this is the front side, and here on the back right and on the back left we have the issues, and a little bit on the front. So what I'm going to do now is I will install this bracket again on the new hotbed, and I will run another test print to see if something changes. So in order to do that, we have to remove the two screws on the back, because we are going to use a little bit longer screws there, so they can hold the bracket. Okay, so now let me put the bracket underneath, and I will use washers and let me see which nuts I'm using. Okay, I will use these. That should be good. So, okay, let me do another test print and I'll see you when it's done. Okay, so the test print is done after I installed that bracket on the back side, and the result is, so we still have some issues on the front side, but if you can see on the back side, it's pretty much good. So what I'm going to do right now is I will put back the two washers that I put on my previous pressure sensor. I will put two washers on the new pressure sensor and do another test print and see if that will make any difference. Okay, so the test print just completed. So this test print is with the bracket on the heat bed on the rear side, and with two of these washers between the pressure sensor and the heatsink, and this is the result. So I'm not sure how good you can see, but basically it looks much better than before. I still have minor things on a couple of places, but it's, I think, better than this thing, and honestly my opinion is that this is close to the best this printer can do. So if I remove it, basically we can see that there are no line separations like here, and it's not bad actually. It's pretty good. Still minor thing here, But yeah, so earlier today I received message from the shipping company that probably tomorrow the motherboard that I'm waiting is coming, so stay tuned for the third video with the motherboard replacement. And yeah, if you have similar issues to mine, like auto leveling problems and bad printing results for the first layer, or your nozzle is grinding on the heat bed, basically try first to add this bracket on the back here, just to compensate that wobbling because of only one axis on the back. That won't solve the issue completely, but it will be much better than before. And also try to add these brass washers, M3, 0.5 millimeter thick. So yeah, try that and you might have better results. See you next time.